We're running a little bit late, but there will be time for questions after the session, so please have your questions ready. And now for your guest, who is Zan Galani. So Zan is staff product manager at Duolingo, has come all the way from New York. In his free time, he lurks in Wikipedia and TikTok, two very different products, and plays soccer, or in my case, football. I also like to think that I was a bit of an inspiration for his latest bit of work, since he seems to have named it after me, but he will tell you all about that. Please welcome Zan Galani.
Hello everyone, I'm Zan Galani, and in those last 10 years, almost 10 years that I've worked at Duolingo, I'm super excited in particular to share about video call. But before we get into video call real quick, let me give you a primer on Duolingo itself. Okay, so chances are you know of Duolingo in two ways. Either number one, you've actually used the product to learn a language, or more recently, maybe you have seen the TikToks. But in either case, what you may not know is that Duolingo is the most popular education platform in the entire world. We teach 44 languages. More recently, we actually teach math and music as well. And what you may be surprised to hear is that the most popular course on Duolingo is actually English. But this kind of makes sense to us, right? Because around the world, the surefire way to get education and employment opportunities is actually to learn English. And so our mission is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, obviously in a lot of different ways, but our approach, the main thing we do is we try to make education we try to make learning fun and interactive. And the way we do that is really to kind of make it feel like a game in some sense. But for the last decade, more than a decade, there's been one missing piece in the puzzle for languages, and that is real conversation practice. Because unlike, say, acquiring a vocabulary, speaking, conversation, is a skill. And the way that you master a skill is by actually doing it. You can think of speaking like a muscle. You have to put the reps in. And of course, there is a clear analogy to going to the gym over here. It doesn't matter how many TikToks are watching on good bench press form. Eventually, of course, you have to actually get under the bar and start pressing if you want those muscles to grow. Okay, so what is the equivalent for language learning? Well, it would be to find a native speaker, but of course, native speakers are super hard to access. It's pretty hard to find people who are actually fluent at the language you're trying to learn and then get them to spend hours and hours with you actually practicing. And by the way, not every native speaker is actually that easy to talk to. They can often be very intimidating, they can be stressful. Even the kind ones, even the nice ones, maybe they're slightly smirking when you mispronounce a word. Okay, so without access to these infinitely patient native speakers, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to put the reps in? And that, of course, is where video call comes in. So video call is this new generative AI-powered way to practice speaking. And specifically, you're having real conversations with this character with no relation to that Lily, called Lily. So let me show you a quick demo.
Oh, hey. How's your job going?
Hey Lily, it's going super well.
Nice. What's your favorite thing about work these days?
Oh, it's probably my colleagues. I really like working with them.
So, talking to people is a big part of your job?
Yes, I actually talk to my colleagues every single day. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like my nightmare. Anyway, I gotta go. Bye for now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so video call and talking to Lily is currently available as part of our AI-powered subscription tier called Duolingo Max. And you can talk to her in a few different languages for now. That was obviously an example in English. But the thing to call out here, the thing to say is that even though we have a clear problem we're trying to solve, which is speaking practice, and even though we now have the technology to solve it, right, or at least to enable solutions, it's still pretty difficult to achieve. Because the thing about conversational AIs like this is that they can demo really well, but it's actually really hard to come up with an experience that people are going to use again and again and again. They often just don't have the staying power. So the question then becomes, of course, how do you build conversational AIs that people want to use? How do you build conversational AIs the Duolingo way? And that is what I'd like to share. Okay, so we have a lot of ways that we think about this, of course, but I'm just going to go through 4 guiding principles we've been using to build video call. The first is to make it authentic. The second is to make it entertaining. The third is to not break the metaphor. And the fourth is to make it stress-free. Okay, so let's get through these one by one. First off, make it authentic. I think this is the shortest and the easiest one to understand. These conversations actually have to feel natural and real if you want to practice and get better at speaking. Specifically, you'll see that these are real-time and open-ended conversations. Remember, the skill, the muscle that you're trying to build with conversation means that it has to be real-time and it has to be open-ended, because that ultimately is the hard part about speaking a foreign language, right? You can't rehearse everything in advance, and you don't have infinite time to actually prepare what you want to say. One cool thing that we've added is memory. So in the first versions of this that we were prototyping internally, there was no sense of memory. Lily, every new conversation with Lily was as if she'd never met you before. And this actually ends up still being useful. Like, you still get to put the reps in, of course, but what we found pretty quickly is that it's just boring, and it just doesn't feel real when she's going to keep asking you, okay, what do you do for work again and again and again. So instead, after building memory, Lily remembers what you like to talk about, and she actually brings it up as well. So quick demo on this.
You're back. Do you want to keep talking about Mexico City?
No, I'd actually like to talk about my recent travels. You know about them, right?
Sure, I remember. London visit, right? What did you like most?
Oh, well, why did I visit London?
Right, your brother had a baby. Bet that was loud. Newborns, you know.
Yes, that's a bit offensive, but okay. Talk to you later then, Lily. I gotta go.
All right, enough of her for now. Okay, so making it authentic, right? This is the first point. This is the obvious point. It's kind of the foundation of the whole experience. Okay, but moving on, and this is more, the Duolingo part of this is to make it entertaining. And in order to do that, I just want to share really quickly what Duolingo's product philosophy is in general, and it's very relevant to what we're building with video call. So the way we think about education learning is that the hardest part about learning anything is staying motivated. The hardest part is actually being able to come back again and again consistently in order to put the hours in. And you're most likely to stay motivated if you're having fun, if it's actually a fun experience and you feel good while doing it. And finally, a teaching method cannot be effective unless it gets you to come back again and again. So again, the gym analogy is very useful over here. You can have a workout where you did the most work and it was so effective and you felt really good afterwards, but if that's the last day you set foot in the gym, does it even count? Okay, so how do we do this? What are the ways that we can make the experience entertaining? What is the way that we can make a conversation AI fun? Lots of ways to do this, of course, but one big part of it, hopefully that you can tell, is that you have a personality that is not going to appeal to everyone. So this is something that we end up saying a lot internally, which is we just do not want Lily to feel like your virtual assistant. Like, she cannot feel like your smart speaker who is going to tell you the weather in the morning when you're getting ready for work. It just so happens when you're doing these experiences that's super helpful, super nice, it makes sense for assistants. It just is super bland for an experience like this. And we've tried this with other characters in Duolingo as well. By the way, this is Vikram. Vikram is super nice. He's super helpful. He is super bland to talk to. So instead, we have Lily, and she kind of has the personality of a cat, maybe. So she's sassy, she's moody, she's a bit judgmental. We don't want you to talk to a dog, we want you to talk to a cat, basically. Okay, so many aspects of making it entertaining, but that is obviously one that we're investing a lot in, because that is just something that makes it fun, and if you're having fun, you're more likely to stay with it in the long run. Okay, the third one is don't break the metaphor. Okay, so first off, you obviously have to pick a metaphor before you can even think of breaking it. And why this matters is because the idea of a video call here is not actually obvious when it comes to conversation practice. So this is a very, very early exploration that we had of the experience. And you can see, okay, there's something we knew at the time about having a character looking at you that we thought would be a good experience. But it's still not clear what you're supposed to do over here. And the thing to know about Duolingo as well is that Duolingo is a very tapping-based experience. Almost every exercise you're doing in Duolingo has you tapping on different tokens. But this experience, tapping is a distraction, right? It's actually about real-time conversation practice. It's about active speaking and active listening. So something like this doesn't really communicate that to a learner. Whereas a video call, of course, just in terms of the UI, in terms of the metaphor, is a lot easier for learners to understand what they actually are supposed to be doing, especially when it's so different from what we've offered on Duolingo before. And then the second part of this, of course, is that now that we have this metaphor of a video call, it takes a lot of effort, but it's important to not break that metaphor. And specifically, it's because it allows our team to focus on the goal. Remember the goal: real-time, open-ended conversation practice. Okay, but why is this such an issue? You think, okay, it's easy. You found a metaphor. It's not that difficult to break it, right? Turns out this is difficult, and we kind of talk about this every single week. Because with something like new technology, it creates a ton of new functionality, right? And so the temptation is always to use every crayon in the box, but you don't have to do it. Because remember, Duolingo is building for your average learner. The whole point of Duolingo is to make learning accessible. These are not power users. So it does require extra restraint to not want to color with all of these crayons. And the second part of this, of course, is that every day we come up with solutions to real problems that end up breaking the metaphor and take our focus away as a team. So I just want to give you a list of things that we've actually prototyped, that we actually considered, and then we ultimately decided to not do, again, because it broke the metaphor. Okay, so here's the list. We found people sometimes are getting interrupted, or they're interrupting Lily, Lily's interrupting them. There's an easy solution. You have a tap-to-speak button, make it more like a walkie-talkie. Solves the problem of interruption completely, makes turn-taking beautifully easy. Some folks just cannot understand Lily. Add captions, very easy. You understand everything. In fact, tap on the captions and you'll be able to translate to see exactly what she's saying. Some folks don't have enough time to think. Add a pause and a play button. Now you have all the time in the world as a learner. Here's the big one, of course. You're not sure what to say. Add a help button, and we can immediately tell you, hey, this would be a recommended answer. And finally, oh, you're not sure how long the call is supposed to be? Add the classic Duolingo progress bar at the top. OK, so what do you get at the end of this? Real solutions. Honestly, these are real solutions, elegant solutions even, to real problems that learners have. But of course, this experience is no longer real-time. There's no longer real-time speaking. It's reading now instead of listening. The illusion is completely broken, and the frog is completely boiled. So not breaking the metaphor ends up being something that is incredibly important, not just for our learners to focus, but for our team to focus as well. Finally, I just want to talk about making the experience stress-free, or as close to stress-free as possible. The reason for doing this, of course, is that speaking is exhausting. This is the hardest thing we are asking our learners to do. Cognitively, of course, this is difficult because you're literally working on a new skill. But emotionally, this is also pretty difficult. Remember what I was saying about being intimidated by native speakers earlier? That's partly on them, but it's mostly on us, actually, because there's something about speaking a foreign language that triggers the I don't want to feel dumb in front of other people part of your brain, and that ends up being a draining experience, and it's stressful, and it's anxiety-causing for a lot of people. OK, so there are a couple of ways we can make this easier for our learners. And remember, a couple of ways to make it easier and stress-free for our learners without breaking the metaphor. Because we don't want to just slap on captions and suddenly, OK, now it's easy to understand what Lily is saying. So the first is just that we tailor difficulty according to a learner's ability. And again, with advanced learners, what they end up getting is more open-ended, longer, more difficult calls, while beginner learners get these narrower, shorter, easier calls. But again, all of this is kind of hidden from the learner. We kind of call it hidden scaffolding. It's not apparent. There's no additional UI. The experience on the surface looks the same for beginners versus more advanced learners. So that's the first point. And then the second is to only give the feedback that matters. And this is worth going into a little bit. So the thing that you may have noticed when you're seeing those conversations with Lily is that she's not correcting me in real time. There's nothing flashing up on the screen that says, hey, you said this word wrong. This is how you should say it instead. And the reason why we do that is because, well, most learners hate making mistakes. I feel this way as well. But the problem with that is that this self-correcting part of your brain is so overactive. It can be so overactive that it actually gets in the way of learning. So video call is designed to focus on communication and not on correction. So while, if you don't understand Lily and you say, I don't understand, she is going to simplify her words and help you. But what she's not going to do is give you pronunciation feedback. She's not going to force you to say the same thing again and again and again, and she's not going to break the flow of the conversation. Because all that ends up mattering in this experience is, can you understand Lily, and can Lily understand you? And if that's the case, then Lily will just roll with the punches. It doesn't matter if you're making mistakes. Lily will just keep the conversation going with you. And this ends up working out because if you can have a number of hours of conversation practice where you're feeling confident, where you have good momentum, the mistakes take care of themselves. So I just want to demo this real quick, and I'm kind of pretending to use imperfect English for this example.
So, how's life in New York?
It good. Very good.
Cool. Anything crazy happening, or just the usual Big Apple stuff?
No big. Just Same.
Nice. New York City has its own vibe, right?
What do you mean? I didn't understand.
I mean, NYC always feels busy and exciting, you know?
Yes, agree.
Exactly. Have you tried any new restaurants in Chinatown?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Lily. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so in that experience, you can see I'm making some mistakes, but Lily can understand me, and she just keeps the conversation going because that's the important part. Even if you drop your clicker mid-presentation, it's important to just keep it going without pausing. Okay, so that's making it stress-free. So these are the 4 principles. Make it authentic, make it entertaining, don't break the metaphor, and make it stress-free, or as close to stress-free as possible. Okay, so it is a very, very, very exciting time to be working in education. This new technology is allowing us to build things and provide experiences that, frankly, just were impossible before. But of course, it really takes some creative product thinking. It takes learning science. It takes a lot of iteration to get to an experience that people actually want to use. These were a few principles that Duolingo uses to make video call what it is today. But also, we plan to use these over the long run, of course, because we are still iterating on this experience and making it better and better every single day. But for now, all learners have to do is open Duolingo, start talking to Lily, and put in the reps. Thank you. Questions? Oh, let's start here.
I was a bit curious about your first principle on being authentic. As part of your research, did you find like what amount of pause was the best way to feel that the talker is? I'm guessing there is some natural language processing going on with Lily coming back and finding it out. So how was that looking like? I mean, how did you go?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. So what we found is that a little bit of latency, a little bit of pause is actually good when you are speaking a foreign language. So all of these demos were obviously in English, which everyone here speaks. But when you're trying this in a foreign language, that extra bit of latency actually gives you a bit more breathing room as a learner. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
You can choose if you would like. Okay, I'll choose. Okay. Yes.
Hi, Zan. Thanks for the session and sharing this. So Duolingo is known for conducting numerous A/B tests before they release their features. So how was this video call feature A/B testing different from the other non-AI features that were launched? What was the difference in the approach?
Yes. Duolingo, for folks who don't know, I guess we're known for running hundreds and hundreds of A/B tests, right? I think at any given point right now, there are like 300 different A/B tests running. Our process actually ends up being somewhat different for these more quote-unquote 0 to 1 features. We didn't do any A/B testing until we were very happy with it internally. And then we did a few A/B tests just leading up to it. And then finally, adding it to the app was an A/B test because then we just want to see what engagement rates are, et cetera, et cetera. But honestly, the approach here was not to A/B test our way to success. It was very much to use an internal sense of what is good and what is not and put this in front of learners and dog food this a ton within the company. Like the CEO is like probably dog fooding this feature more than any other person is. Yeah. Thanks for the question. This gentleman over here.
Hey, thanks for the talks, really good. So Duolingo has world-class gamification, behavioral engineering. Most of us probably don't have anything near what you do, but maybe should. So curious to know, and also like the hidden scaffolding, so impressive. Like it's hidden, but it's adds a lot, obviously. So what would we need in terms of skills, people, and tools to kind of replicate what you have in terms of being able to deliver on gamification, behavioral engineering?
Good question. I guess who's the we here? Like any company?
So SaaS companies in general, we have like this really pernicious habit of just putting screens in front of people and hoping for the best. But we could be doing a lot more with, Pendo and things to guide people and drive behaviors that benefit us and things like that. And like that hidden scaffolding that you were talking about, like some people take to features very naturally, others don't.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we could be doing that we're just not.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I would say for most of Duolingo, the way that we feel confident in this approach is that we've just run so many A/B tests that have shown that these things work for engagement and they work for retention over the long run, that it's just baked into the culture, I would say, very deeply. In your case, maybe it's running those first tests to see if they have an impact, and then that is the way that you slowly build confidence in the approach. But it's a tough one.
So you don't have psychologists or anything like that?
We have learning scientists. So we have learning scientists whose expertise is basically how to teach languages effectively. But we don't have a group of, say, behavioral economists or consumer psychologists. That's not a research group at Duolingo.
I guessed wrong. Y'all are really good at it. Very cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was a great question. I love it.
And the one to
And I'm
end
here
with?
to interrupt.
Yes.
I'm so sorry,
Okay.
but that is all we have time for with Zan. Thank you so much. That was a really excellent session.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how I feel about being called sassy, moody, and a bit judgmental, but anyway, I'll talk to him about that.